Welcome to the Portfolio Builders Club. It's a quick market update. Just keep in mind as you build out your portfolio, you should just periodically take a look at the market. We're looking at daily charts here. Going to give you an idea of the Portfolio Builders Club way of looking at charts. So the blue line here is the 200-day moving average. Below that, we have a shaded blue to give the appearance of sort of like water. We can see if the tide is sort of rising or prices above the water or underwater, just to give visual cues as to the market direction. The other moving average that we have here is the EMA 50-day moving average, and that's just going to give us market direction, also based on color change as to kind of the direction that we're going in. We're always looking for prices as above the 200-day moving average to be moving up, and then below the 200-day moving average to be moving down. That's our bias. So looking at Apple here, we see that Apple has been doing really well. It has closed out this last, almost 4% that we were looking at last time, and now sort of pulling back from that as it hit that high level there. But the anticipation would be over time that this will continue to move up. But right now we'll just see what happens. We can begin to draw a trend line and see if that trend line breaks after we get a little bit more price action. Moving on to Amazon. So Amazon still has this 28% to get back to the all-time high levels up here, but it's definitely moving smoothly after this breakout that occurred here, and it's just continuing to move in an upward direction. Again, over time, we don't know if it's going to pull back first before it continues on, but the idea is the overall direction is up at this point. Berkshire Hathaway has this little bit of a 3% move to get back to these high levels here. So we'll just kind of monitor that. Here we go with Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, GBTC, and we see that that's just really skyrocketed. It closed out that 50% gain that it had. Is continuing on with that movement to the upside. So Bitcoin looking pretty good. There's some other Bitcoin ETFs that may be coming out in January or have some word or ruling on whether or not they can create these ETFs. So as we watch that in the market, we'll be able to tell what's coming next. Goggl. So here we go, Goggl. We were trying to look at this last 22% push to get back to the all-time highs. It seems to be making pretty good progress toward that. So we'll continue to watch that for Goggl. JP Morgan Chase, we were looking at this push here. Looks like it could get to about 25% up here. It's continuing to make that push as well. Marathon Digital, again, a Bitcoin related stock here, and we were looking at before for it to go to the 70% mark. We're well past that 70% mark. So let's see how far did it end up going so far. So 135% as we've been watching this. So we can continue to watch this. The next zone level is really up here, which would be almost 180% gain. So we continue to watch that. It could pull back and then kind of go up there, but the idea is that we're above the watermark. We're moving up. Everything's looking positive for this as of right now. Meta, looking at this last 16% push for Meta. Microsoft. It's already past all-time highs, so looks like it's sort of camping out here. Before we were talking about it going to the moon, it's been there and back. So we'll just continue to monitor that. The ideal move would be to get a nice push down, then a push up, but we'll see what happens. Netflix, so we're just looking for this last 10% pull to fill this gap. There's a gap in price here, so we're just looking for that 10% pull to complete. Just a little bit more to go. See how that goes. NVIDIA. So NVIDIA created a huge gap here. So we really would expect something to occur within NVIDIA news-wise or fundamentally that will somehow push it back down to this level here, because we really need to fill this gap. It may be a surprise whenever it starts to move down like this, but we expect that to happen. Now, we don't know when that'll happen. Maybe price will continue to move up and then eventually come down, but this is a huge gap. Around the 320 to 360 level that really needs to be filled. Let's just take this 350 out for a moment. Yeah, so but this gap really needs to be filled. So my anticipation that for NVIDIA that for some reason something will happen that'll bring that back down. Tesla. So Tesla finally has a bit of a breakout that's occurring here on the daily. So we really look for this to go ahead and push up from this particular point. Now it's gotten past the sort of indecision point. So we'll continue to monitor that. Again, Tesla is really driven by the CEO comments and different things like that. So we have to be careful, as social media plays a big part in what happens with some of these stocks. Taiwan Semiconductor, definitely on the move up, looking for 25% potential here. All right, we're going to jump into AFRM. So AFRM made our earlier 100% move and is continuing up. Let's see how far it has gone so far. Looks like 160. So let's see, where would 200 be? Okay, roughly here would be 200. So with that, just a little bit more to go. That will match up with some resistance here as well. That it will have to break through in order to get to that final piece. But again, this is definitely on the positive side of things. So it could pull back and just correct a little bit and then continue to monitor that. AI. So with AI, we are just now getting above the watermark and getting above the 50-day moving average. So the idea is that we're going to be looking for movement to the upside. 133% is what we're looking at right there. AMD it's finished the 25% push here. It looks like it's going to continue. CROX. So CROX, we've been waiting for it to fill this gap here. It did have a nice push and recovery from some of those lower levels. So we'll see if it finds some support right here on the 50-day moving average as well as the 20-day moving average, and whether it can actually push up to fill this gap and then eventually continue on. So we'll continue to monitor that. If not, if not, then we'll have to look for it to continue lower, because the price right now did just dip below the 200-day moving average again. So we'll have to watch that one pretty closely. Carvana, looking at this 100% move for Carvana as it has broken out here. So we'll continue to monitor that. DraftKings. So DraftKings, quite a bit of activity over time. And again, patience is a virtue here. We're looking at from where it is now to about here to all-time highs will be 100% gain. If you got in much earlier, of course, those gains will be much greater. But looking at 100% to get back to all-time highs. Again, there's a long time. This is a daily chart, so it could be a long time before it actually gets back there. It could pull back first and before it takes off again. DocuSign. This is a stock with pretty large potential, only really based on this gap here. So this is, again, a huge gap on a daily chart in price where it really fell off, But the idea is that if it's going to recover, it's going to have to fill this gap. That gap is about 250% away from the current price. So we'll have to continue to monitor what happens with that and how long it actually takes it to make that move to the upside. Etsy. Looking at Etsy here, we have price going just above the 200-day moving average, or it looks like it might be slightly below actually, but it did peak out above it for a moment. We are on a positive sort of move right now, so it did complete like a 15% move that we were watching earlier. But we're looking at this 100% move to get back to these previous highs here ultimately for Etsy, and we had hit that previous major low as well. So the idea here is to watch this, see what happens. Again, patience is a virtue. Ford, looking at 25% to get back to these all-time highs, which would complete what would be a 50% move. There's a gap up here also that needs to be filled ultimately. So we'll continue to watch that. GM, same thing, looking for this 50% move to get back to those highs there. Let's look at LYFT. So with LYFT, we're already well into this 100% move here to get back to fill this gap. It might ultimately be 150%, but the idea is that price really gapped here. We would expect price to come up. We already just closed this, or close to closing. It looks like it actually closed this gap here. But this gap here is still outstanding, so we would expect price to kind of go up into that zone at some point. PayPal, same thing, pretty large, pretty huge gains. We got a gap to fill here. We got a gap to fill way up here. So looking at the moves that are possible, and there's another gap as well. So the idea is that this is 100% to that gap and about 200% to this gap up here, maybe more than 200%. So continue to monitor this for PayPal and see if PayPal can recover. Again, PayPal right now is below the 200-day moving average, so it hasn't fully recovered back into the green here as far as our process of looking at stocks. So we do have to watch this because as of right now, it could still go lower actually. But once it starts to show some movement above that 200-day average, that's when we will say that things are on the upside. But right now, it really is still on the downside until it pushes out. Roblox. So Roblox here, just looking at this, continue to push up from these previous major lows. This will be a 100% move to get to this zone here. So take this off. Zone here where we have the previous highs. So and that will also go to eventually fill this expected gap. Shopify, same thing, 100% move that we're looking at for our Shopify over time. Snap, same thing, 100% move over time. Huge gap up here as well. I mean, well, there's a gap right here that we're in the middle of filling, but there's a huge gap up here as well. Snap, okay, SOFI. So SOFI has made initial breakout here. Let's see if we can measure where we are now. To here would be 18%. And then if we were to measure, let's change this. All right. And let's go also and measure from here to all-time highs. Well, at least to where it was before. So 140% roughly is what we're looking at there. All right. Square, about to complete this 50% move. So we'll see how that goes. TWLO, we're looking at 100% move ultimately over time. It looks like 400% to get back to all-time highs or in that range. So we are above the 200-day moving average and 50-day moving average as well. So we're out of water. It could kind of, fluctuate, but eventually go up is the idea here. Upstart. This is a big mover as well. So we're in the middle of this 100% move here. So we have to continue to monitor that. All right. And then I just want to jump to some crypto related stocks as well. And we'll just start with Argo blockchain. Here's on the NASDAQ. So this is making a nice push up here. I'm just going to run through these. Let's say Bitfarm. It's completed 100% move there. We got Backed Holdings. You have Bit Digital. Looking for a 100% move here. You have CIFR Mining. Let's see what the measurement is here. Let's see how far it came once it came out here. So we look at, 68, 70%. Let's see, to get to 100% is not very far away there. But let's also measure from where it is today to, I guess, somewhere in here, previous highs. So 130% maybe. So we have to continue to watch that. Again, this is going to fluctuate with Bitcoin and other cryptos. Coin, well on its way to complete this 100% move here. Again, we could always pull back. These are daily charts. This could take a while to actually happen, but right now it's on a pretty much upward trajectory as of right now. HIVE, also looking at a 100% move. That's just to get back to these previous highs here. I guess it has a larger potential. Let's see, we're gonna measure from where it is today. Looks like 300% to get well into those previous high levels. All right, we're gonna jump on to Hood. Hood has finished the 50% move from where it was previously. We were measuring. We're looking at 300% for Hood. Eventually, this is Robinhood. Let's see, HUT. Again, well on its way on the 100% move. MicroStrategy's well on its way for this 50% move. RIOT, well on its way to this 100% completion here. And then we have WULF, TeraWulf. And this one, well on its way to the 100% potential, has a lot more potential based on where price has been in the past. Let's measure that. From today's price to, let's see here. Yeah, 1,000%. Wow. So, let's just bring it down. Roughly 1,000% from today's price to here, which would get you close to all-time highs again. So that's another one to watch. So that's it for crypto, and that's it for our review for today. Just wanted to touch on the market, give you a feel for what's going on. So again, start your portfolios. All right, thanks.